Shui Po, and I've picked 3 different spots for 3 different reasons, kind of like what I do for my tours and how I create my tours. The first one we're going to is a little bit scary, but that's where we talk a little bit more about Chinese medicine philosophy. So we're going to a snake shop. So I like to bring people to places where I can explain the significance. We're at a snake shop because snake warms up our body. So we eat it during the winter time. There's less people during the summertime, but we're still gonna try it nevertheless. So let's go and try a snake soup. For those that are really of interest, I get them to do a snake shot. Let's go sit down. I was born and raised in Vancouver, BC, and I moved to Hong Kong about 10 years ago. I used to be in HR, so I did human resources for a couple of years for a sports and apparel company in Vancouver, and then I wanted to be in a bigger company. So in Vancouver, there's not a lot of big corporations. That's why I decided to move to Hong Kong. So I worked for a couple of American banks in the HR department for the first 4 years of my life in Hong Kong. And I think in Hong Kong, the work hours were very long, but when you turn 30, you start thinking about your future. And so I was in HR and I was like, oh, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? And I decided to take a hiatus, and I went traveling and I went to Europe, and I was just going to take a break, but my parents freaked out. And then I don't know what I did, but I just said, oh, I'm going to start a tour, because I had gone to Europe and tours were really popular, and that's kind of how I started my own business. I'm eating snake soup right now. So this is a traditional dish. It's supposed to warm up the body, so it's great for the winter time. And inside here, they add a little bit of the mushroom and then the black earwood fungus. And they put in the chicken to make it more palatable. And also as well with the snakes, they put in a couple different varieties of snake, like the 100-pace viper is also quite common, or the tri-rope beauty snake, or the Chinese rat snake. What would I tell people to avoid eating if they're new in Hong Kong? Well, first of all, I would say that we really like to queue or line up for good food. So if you look at a store and there's not really anybody inside, or what my mom says, pat wu ying, so there's like flies and it's just very lonely, maybe don't go into that store. You should look for a store that's full of people, lots of people lining up, or generally that just means that the food is going to be fresher, there's going to be a higher turnover, and the locals like it, so you should like it as well. So give those stores a try, which is also my next stop. So we are going to go to a Michelin recommended place that the locals love. Apparently they sell like 3,000 rice rolls a day, so we're going to try rice rolls. So the cool thing about this store is there's not really any seating. We just eat it in this sketchy alley. Always a Hong Kong experience. Now it's the sauce that makes it great. So there is a hoisin sweet sauce. I got some hot sauce. There's some soy sauce. There's a sesame sauce as well. And on the top, there's toasted sesame seeds. You eat it once you mix it all together. So don't forget mixing it like this. Super tasty. They're slippery and they're really, really good. So Sam Shui Po is one of the poorest areas in Hong Kong, so sometimes people are a little bit scared to come here, and that's why I like to bring them to Sam Shui Po to show them how charming and quaint this area really is. And so given that the people that live here, this is a really cheap food. So for this whole plate, it's only 10 Hong Kong dollars, and that's equivalent to like $1.25 US. Look, you get all this. All right, after you mix it in, use the skewers and you slurp. Make sure not to get the sauce on yourself. Another local favorite, BBQ meats. So as a tour guide, when I'm designing a tour, it really is based on the people that are coming into Hong Kong. If it's your first time trying Hong Kong local food, I might get you to try something simpler like a pineapple bun, which is very similar to just bread and butter. Who doesn't like that? So the next spot that we're going to is an ice cream shop where we combine ice cream and local flavors together for fusion ice cream. Let's go give it a try. I think there's not another city in Hong Kong that has the history that Hong Kong has. There's so much like East with the West, like the British influence, and there's so much old with the new. So you could go to a temple that's like a grade 1 historical building, but at the back there's like a huge skyscraper. Or there's like an 80-story skyscraper, but then we use bamboo scaffolding as construction. It's tofu and then a charcoal cone and then a sour plum popsicle. It's like the Chinese porcelain and the bowls that you get. If you ever get tea, they also put it in this pattern of a teapot. So it's like the old and the new all together, the fusion. So obviously, given the pandemic, I haven't been a tour guide for the last 3 years. What I've done is I've decided, I want to teach people more about culture. So I've actually started teaching people how to play Mahjong, which is a very cultural game that's very popular in Hong Kong. If you're considering to moving to Hong Kong, I think you have to consider the pros and the cons. Before, the pros I think were like lower tax rates, and then it's a great traveling hub if you're interested in exploring Asia. Right now, obviously the con I think is the lack of traveling because of the quarantine measures. I think maybe after the quarantine measures were released, then it's a whole nother story, and Hong Kong's a pretty good place to live. For right now, I'm very fortunate that I can stay or leave, but for right now I am staying in Hong Kong just because I want to create more content about Hong Kong culture, living in Hong Kong, the foods I love in Hong Kong.